Chapter 7 Boldly Down the Crater. The next morning we awoke half frozen, but warmed by a splendid sun. I rose from my granite bed and went out to enjoy the magnificent spectacle. Then Hans and my uncle joined me on the summit. Hans told us that we were standing on the peak named Scartaris. My uncle shot a triumphant glance at me. "Now for the crater!" he cried. In order to make our descent easier, Hans wound his way down the cone by a spiral path. There were glaciers in certain parts of the cone. At midday we arrived at the bottom of the crater. I raised my head and saw straight above me the upper opening of the cone. It framed a bit of sky and was almost perfectly round. Just upon the edge appeared the snowy peak of Ceres, standing out sharp and clear against endless space. At the bottom of the crater were three chimneys, through which lava had long ago erupted. Each of these chimneys had a diameter of 100 feet. They gaped before us, right in our path. I didn't have the courage to look down any of them, but my uncle had quickly surveyed all three. "Alex," my uncle suddenly cried, "come here and have a look." And sharing his astonishment, I read a name on the western face of the block. The runic characters were half eroded away. "Arne Signussem," my uncle read. "Do you believe it now?" I was silent and returned to my lava seat. Here was crushing evidence. I was astounded and sat as if in a trance. The Icelanders had been dismissed, and they were now descending the outer slopes of Snæfell to return home. Hans slept peacefully at the foot of a rock, in a lava bed where he had found a suitable couch for himself. But my uncle was pacing around the bottom of the crater like a wild beast in a cage. I had neither the desire nor the strength to rise. Following Hans' example, I went off into an unhappy slumber. Thus the first night in the crater passed away. The next morning a gray, cloudy sky seemed to droop over the summit of the cone. Without the sun to cast a shadow, we wouldn't know which of the craters to descend. My uncle was angry and impatient. The day wore on, and no shadow appeared. Hans did not move from the spot he had selected. My uncle spoke not a word to me. For the next few days we waited, due to the bad weather. But on the last day of June came a change of weather. The sun poured a flood of light down the center of the crater and showed us that the middle chimney was the one to enter. "There it is!" shouted my uncle. "Now for the center of the globe!" "Forward!" Hans said. "Forward!" repeated my uncle.